All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the final stretch of the Freedom Thinking for the Love of Life weekend. Well, long weekend, it's Monday. Via donation retreat. Anybody wishes to make a via donation, if you're watching this in catch up and you've enjoyed it and you'd like to make a donation, our PayPal is info@freedomthinking.co.uk. So, and we appreciate anybody who drops us donations, because it just helps Jenny and I keep going with our work. And yeah, and if people can't afford to make a donation, what we ask is that they do take the time, they genuinely do take the time to pay it forward. They make a concerted effort to pay forward the time that we've spent hopefully helping people along. And we hope that people do actually take the time to pay it forward with an act of kindness. And if somebody does do that, we love hearing about it. And I'll tell you, we've done a few of these. Number 7, is it, of these retreats? Only one person's ever come forward and told us what their act of kindness was. So yeah, no, we would really appreciate it if people would let us know what they've done, because it's just so nice for us just to hear where it ends up. All right, final stretch. We're not going to change the structure of this too much. We want this to be about you. So this is about the people. It's about all of us. So please, if there's anything that anybody wants to talk about, questions, reflections, observations, then please let us know. Jenny's saying a few more than that, Dave, but on Facebook, and I forget to tell you. Right. Well, that sounds about bloody right. Oh no, apparently we've had a few more than one. It was one email we received. So, but Jen says it was on Facebook. I'm always the last to know. Anybody got any questions, reflections, observations? Which way do we want to take this last stretch of the retreat?
Hi, Dave. Something
Cheryl, how are
hit.
you doing, love?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah. Cooking dinner. Sorry. There was something that struck me on what Dickin was saying today, and I can't pick out his exact words, but it was something about it's all thought and none of it's real, and it kind of hit, but it hasn't settled. So I'm hoping that it will settle, because I've been struggling a bit lately, and there was something in it about none of it's real. So I've got no more than that. That's all I've got.
Well, it was that statement when Sid Banks said it that was, I feel, was the catalyst for my, I call it an awakening. For my awakening, because I wasn't the same man after my experience. The man who worried, and this isn't always useful, you know. If I say this shit, it really isn't always useful, because people then go, oh, I don't have what Dave has got, and it's like it becomes a rather unuseful statement or thing to point out. But everybody does, and so perhaps I won't even talk about that part. But when I remember one of my mum's insights, just to finish that bit off, one of my mum's insights was, she was walking around the fell, walking the dog around the fell, and she thought she didn't get it until she saw it like me. So she had my experience, and then she was walking the dog around the fell, and she said, it suddenly dawned on me, I can't possibly have your experience. Should I have my own experience? She said, bang, there it was. There it was. This realization came through her. She'd been comparing herself to me, and of course she's never going to have my experience. I remember Col on our retreat in Ambleside had his experience, and his experience was very different to my experience. We laughed. We both laughed in our experiences, and I remember, but Col had a different experience to me, but he nevertheless had the same kind of awakening experience, and the lad's never been the same again. And perhaps talk about that at some point, Col. But you know, that point of when Sid said which I forget which talk it's actually in. There was only 4 of them up at that time. It's 2013. That I remember that I could find anyway. There was only 4 talks of Sid. 2 of them were about 2 or 3 minutes long. This one was the longest. I think it was about 6 minutes long. None of his Washington lectures or anything like that were up online or anything like that. It was just these little snippets of Sid Banks. But he said, it's not real. You think it's real. It's not real. And he's getting very, very straight with these therapists. He said, it's all an illusion. And you lot is going, and you lot are working from that illusion. You lot are trying to help people from that illusion effectively. You think it's real. It's not real, you just think it's real. And the other thing he said was, what I discovered is that life is a psychological experience. Life itself is a psychological experience. It's a manifestation of consciousness. It's a soul game.
Yeah, I heard that differently today as well.
Yeah, good.
So,
Good.
watch this space.
Well, just be careful not to create limitations with expectation, because anything you expect is anything that you consider to be an expectation of how magical and wonderful it could possibly get is a limitation on it. It truly is. It's a limitation. The intellect cannot comprehend the magnitude of what it is formed from.
I have a tendency to overthink these things. So once I start to see something, I start thinking about what I see. So I'm making a conscious effort this time to not think about it and just let whatever it is settle and see what it settles into. And
Yeah, and even let go
be
of that.
open.
And even let go of that idea.
Right. Okay.
Because it's not in any of it. This is still, conscious decisions made are still in the realms of the intellect. So it's like, but Cheryl, you are already the full splendor and magnitude of life itself. That's what you are. What is life itself? I don't know. What is the psyche? What is the soul? I don't know. Some magical, mystical thingness. There we are. We are already it. And you realize there's actually nothing to find because it was never lost. This whole conversation's always been about there's nothing to find because it was never lost. The only thing that it's like Jenny says, if people say we want to go deeper, she says, well, we just go simpler then. You just go simpler. Because the only thing that creates this illusion that we think we're searching for something is the beliefs that we carry around that flavor our life. It's only thoughts that have created the illusion that we're something other than the full magnitude of life. Which isn't real. It's not real, you just think it's real. You think there's obstacles. We think there's obstacles standing in the way of our understanding. There isn't. There's nothing standing in the way of our understanding. Just we keep focusing our attention at the wrong thing. We keep looking for this thing. I'm going looking for this thing. What are you looking for? I don't know. We got a map? I hope so. 3 principles. All right. Yeah, well, that's just a metaphor. So you've got a metaphor for a map. Well, that's not much use. but it's a bit of a guide. So that's all going to depend on how well we interpret the guide. But to interpret the guide is simply seeing that we're already it. There was the only thing standing between us and a full realization of who and what we truly are is our own believing it's real. What's that, Baba? Coat? Which one? Sears coat? Oh, you want your coat? And Raya's here. The nappy half down. You should see she's got a praying mantis with a nappy on. Where's the praying mantis with a nappy on?
I think upstairs. I'm trying. I'm listening, everyone.
Love you, Baba.
Yeah, so lots of people have said the different acts of kindness. Often it'll be on Facebook or email. I don't really check any of that.
No.
And I've forgotten to tell you. So I've heard quite a few lovely things.
All right. Well,
So apologies.
So, yeah. You know what, Cheryl? If it was real, if the way I surveyed life was real, everybody would see my world.
Yeah, I think it was more about the thoughts, because I'm struggling with the thoughts at the moment.
What do you mean?
Well, it's more, there was something around, it's the thoughts aren't real. There was something about the illusion of thought and my thoughts, that I'm believing some and not others. It was more about that. So, you know, I'm taking some thoughts more seriously than others. And I think it was and I don't know, as I say, I haven't got words for it. There was just something went somewhere.
Well, I'm
And
going to step away from this subject.
absolutely.
Cloudy and murky the percent.
It's just something clunked, and I've let it clunk and leave it and see,
Nice.
you know, what happens.
Nice. Yeah, sometimes we can overcomplicate it.
Absolutely, yeah. Take care. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, love. Anybody else?
May I share?
Zoe, please, love.
Wow. This just noticing that you dropped on us, the very first opening segment, is such a powerful key to bringing me present and out of that psychological thinking realm. I am so aware that my whole life, and it's not just me, I'm picking up on it in conversation with other people, how we make shit up and it becomes our reality. And it's so cunning, baffling, and powerful that I buy it hook, line, and sinker. But this noticing piece, it's almost like, regardless of what's going on, if I'm doing the dishes, caught up in my thinking or cooking or out for a walk, my senses, my not so much my seeing, but eventually my auditory, my hearing, my senses of smell or touch are part of the equipment we're given when we come into this earth suit, right?
Yep.
And we're also given the intellect and dropping into the heart more and listening from that presence that you and Jenny and you know, I missed Dickon this morning, but helps bring me back from that realm of thinking. And there are certain repetitive things that run, right? That are almost like unconscious beliefs And just noticing is like the key to freedom, because it brings me back to the present.
Yeah.
Without judgment or without adding more thinking to my noticing. It's a loop.
The fact you put that bit in. That's beautiful. What a beautiful notice. What a beautiful noticing. Without judgment. To notice is not judging. It's not making a judgment. It's just noticing. Sorry, love, I interrupted you.
It's fine. It's just we're so innocent in a lot of our conditioning. I don't even want to go on. That was perfect. I'll just stop. Unless you have something to contribute that would be, helpful.
No, I remember when I said it to the man, he said a few things actually. He said to us, look, Dave, I'll be honest, we were recommended to come and see you. I didn't look into you, I just booked it and came. He said, it's day 3, when are we going to talk about our problems? We got a list of problems we want to talk about. He said, not being funny, but it's day 3, when are we going to start talking about our problems? And I just looked at him and said, what is a problem? What is a problem? And he kind of, he sat back and he looked a bit perplexed for a little bit, and then he just went, it's a thought. I said, yeah. I said, we're potentially helping you with every single problem you ever come up against for the rest of your life. And then that same day, we went to Lavenham. Anybody who knows Lavenham in Suffolk, walking around Lavenham, that's when he said, what do you want me to do with this information? I said, I just want you to notice. As I said it, I realised the truth. As I said it, like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Interesting for me to hear that. But it was really, really beautiful, because he didn't come for him, he came for his wife, who was struggling with alcohol and this repetitive sickness. She could think herself into feeling sick. So he really came for his wife. His wife quit alcohol, and after a couple of weeks she quit alcohol, and she said this sickness thing started to just dissipate. But which was wonderful, because that's what they came for. But I think what was equally as wonderful was this man. He went to work and he was faced with this serious problem of a lot of people. He's quite high up in this business, and a lot of people were going to be laid off. And he said, I could see people worrying and panicking. He said, I wasn't. He said, I knew it will be whatever it is, but we don't know what that is yet. So there's no point in worrying and no point in panicking. He said, and I just brought that to the table. He said, I don't know what's going to happen. He said, but one thing I do know is I'll deal with it. We will deal with this. He said, and I was so certain as I said it. And that's when the lady who told him to go and see us said, at the end, she went, that was Dave and Jen talking there, wasn't it? And he went, I think it probably was, but it wasn't us talking, it was him talking. And he lit up and he lit up, and he's seen so much since. You know, it's almost, this is a conversation that can only really be allowed through when we're not efforting to hear something. And quite often we find that the person who comes to support the other person, we always ask, if somebody's coming, bring somebody else, please. And especially if it's relationship like partners, marriage or something like that. If one of you is coming, both come, please. For the simple reasons that, one, if somebody does have a shift, it can be really kind of difficult for that individual to go back into a circumstance where they are surrounded by people who can't recognize the shift or don't recognize them. That's what happened to me. Like, my family didn't recognize me once I changed, and especially my father, he really rebelled against me. He fought me for a lot of months, and it was really hard work because he couldn't accept this change. And I understand it was scary for him because I'm no longer the son he once had. That was predictably angry. And he recognized what he could do to get certain responses out of me, and vice versa. And for that to change, it was very, very scary for him, and it became very, very difficult for me. So we always ask that somebody comes with somebody. And plus, if it's in a relationship and one person does that, you know, it's so much better if the relationship rises together. That's what happened to a family member of mine. They shifted like that, and the other person stayed behind. And because they stayed behind, I say stayed behind, but just metaphorically speaking, they then sunk lower and lower into addiction. So it's like, but for the person who has come, who hasn't got anything on their mind to fix, those are the people who usually hear the most. Because people come to this thinking it's a therapy. It's not a therapy. This is not a therapy. This is not an approach. This is a conversation about the nature of reality. Now, it just so happens that if somebody sees into the nature of reality, they realize the illusions, like Cheryl's talking about. They notice the illusions of the experience that they've been living out of. Now, the therapeutic value in that is uncalculable. But it's not a therapy. It's simply the individual has aligned themselves with truth. They've discovered the logic of life, as Keith started to talk about, as Keith was talking about on day one. The logic of life. You know, we do believe everything we think more often than not. If thought is infinite potential, if thought, one second. One second, just 1 second. Just 1 second. I bought my sister a fart ninja. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a fart ninja. Fart ninja is a little plastic action figure in a ninja stance. The first time I ever became aware of them, I was in a shop, and this old lady walked past, and it sounded like she'd totally disgraced herself. And Jenny and I looked at each other and we were like, she didn't even flinch. Oh my God. And then we walked past this stand of fart ninjas and they all went off, and it was quite embarrassing. But people that know my sister will know that they absolutely she would love it. So I bought my sister a fart ninja, and the moment she walked into the house, it started going off, and it was so funny. But I can hear Lucia playing with it in there, and it's just going off left, right, and centre, and totally distracted me. So I'll show you it later on. It's really good. I like it. Anyway. Yeah, we're just talking about we believe everything we think. And thought being infinite potential. And look at that point. Like, question it, like, reflect upon it. Notice how there is no end to thought. There's no end to thought. What a wonderful thing to comprehend, to start to get a glimpse of. There is no end to the power of thought. We'll never run out of thoughts. We will always figure out a way to improve on a thing, an object. We'll always dream up a new adventure. I'll always create a new piece of music, paint a different picture, devise a new sport, dream up new ways to destroy one another, as stupid human beings have used the God's given gift of thought to do. Devise new ways to heal one another. The infinite power of thought lies at the heart of our being. Infinite potential. Infinite potential. That's why, like I spoke about, was it yesterday? The Essenes saw thought as the highest, most powerful force in the universe, as it was seen as the instigator of both feeling and action. And they trained themselves to harness that power in a positive way. And one of the ways they did that was they noticed when they weren't. But
I have a question, if that would be okay.
yeah, just 1 second, Myra. Just 1 second. Let me just get to the point that I'm trying to make about this. And that is, when we believe what we're thinking, what we're actually doing is we're believing a potential from the infinite potential. We're believing that, thanks, sweetheart, that this particular thought is the truth, when it was simply a potential. You could think about it another way, and then that would look like the truth. And then you could look at it from another point of view, and then it would look like the truth. Like, have you ever come across somebody and gone, oh, they're a pain in the ass? And then gone, oh, but you know what? I know they've been pretty stressed out recently about X, Y, or Z. Or they were intense, and I know they've been stressed out about X, Y, or Z. And all of a sudden, that new thought presents itself as a different reality, but both looked real. Like, when you start to become more aware of it, you start to become skeptical of what you think. You start to become skeptical, you start to notice, you become more aware of what your mind is actually doing. That's one of the gifts of this. You start to become aware of your ego. This will present your ego to your face. It will show you your ego in so many respects. Did you know you think like this? Did you know you hold that prejudice? Do you know you think like this about yourself? Unconsciously. Consciously. And then you can start to be more skeptical about what you think. You start to become more aware of the way you're using your mind. Because there is only one thing creating any experience from within ourselves, and that is the way that we are creating. The only reality that I get to experience is my reality. The only reality Jerry gets to experience is Jerry's reality. Zoe can only experience Zoe's reality. I cannot experience Jerry's reality, and he cannot experience mine. We are reality creating beings. That's the gift of the principles. But until we wake up to that point, we're going to assume reality is external. Or a percentage of reality is external. And perhaps a percentage is from within, but it's all from within. It's 100% from within. You can't experience outside of yourself. Everything you experience is from within. This cup of tea I'm drinking now, I experience from within myself. How could I experience it outside of myself? How could I experience it outside of consciousness, outside of thought, outside of mind? Of course I couldn't. It would make no sense that we would even think that would be possible. So the whole of reality is being birthed from within ourselves. And Sid gave us the formula, like Keith said. This is the formula. Mind, mind. The overarching infinite intelligence. Dickon calls mind wisdom. The infinite intelligence that underpins the creation of all things. God mind, source, quantum field, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Energy, pure potential, infinite potential, whatever you want to call it. Allah, Buddha mind, whatever. Doesn't matter. They're all just noises. But it must exist. Where does humanity's intelligence come from? Where's the intelligence of the maple key that's designed to spin? Where does the aerodynamics, where do trees learn aerodynamics? There's an infinite intelligence behind the universe. There has to be. What put us together in this phenomenal way? My finger's healing itself like unbelievably well. I'm not doing it. Little Dave isn't healing it. Little Dave isn't beating my heart. Little Dave isn't remembering to breathe and run my pancreas and whatever gland needs to be done next. Thank God I'd been dead bloody years ago. I forget everything. And this mind is infinitely conscious. Infinitely conscious. It's aware of all. Because it is all. It's all there is. And that infinite potential, the potential within the infinite we call thought. It's the same mind. God mind and our mind is the same mind. There is only God mind. What we think is our mind is actually God mind playing the game of creation. But why would it play the same game of creation to everyone when it could play infinite creation and have infinite experience all at once? That's why it can't be hurt. That's why nobody can be hurt, because they're not who and what they think they are. That's a thought. They're not a potential. They are the infinite potential. This is why you can't be fixed, because you were never broken. Just thought you were broken. Perhaps somebody told you were broken. Perhaps somebody gave you a label and you believed it. What if you're not that label? Perhaps somebody you thought was more intelligent than you told you X, Y, or Z, and you just believed them. Or perhaps you held on to a moment in time and carried it through time, a moment that felt like X, Y, or Z, and you carried it through time and you assumed that's who and what you actually were. When in actual fact, you were never that. It was just a thought, a potential that we carried through time and we identified with it as a mistake, mistakenly identified with it. It's not real. We just think it's real. But that's the beauty. If you knew you couldn't be hurt, what would you go and do in life? If you knew you could not be hurt, what would you want to do with your life? If you knew you couldn't get it wrong, what amazing gambles would you take? Where would you go? Who would you go and see? A thing you've always wanted to do but daren't. That's our gift. It's a gift we all have. But we have got so lost in fear, the illusion of life. Postponed our happiness. We've mistaken our freedom, infinite freedom, for imprisonment. And the only thing, like a lad I once spoke to in prison, who argued with me, argued like fuck with me, he did. Next week I came back and he said, he was literally bouncing on the spot as I walked through the gates. And he just screamed at me, what you said last week was true. I said, I know. He said, no, you don't understand, he said. He said, Dave, I'm free. He said, can you believe I'm telling you now that I'm free and I'm in prison and I've never felt more free in my life? And then he pointed outside and he went, those walls and those fences are not my prison. My prison was my mind. We're all free. Everybody's free. They always were free. Because they're creator beings. They create their own reality. You can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong. It's impossible to get it wrong. It doesn't work like that. Right and wrong. In the realms of duality, the illusion of life, it's the realm, it's the domain of the intellect, the ego. Nobody can get life wrong. There's just experience. And once we start to find the formula, we then have the opportunity to use the formula. Don't worry about mind, consciousness, thought. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. You are it. But once you start to get a glimpse into it, you realize you can just live a different life. You can create a different reality. You won't do it from here, I promise. But that doesn't matter. The rest of it just takes care of itself. So don't think you need to go in search of how to do it. You're already doing it. You always were. The shift doesn't shift in the intellect. The shift shifts from within the being. I walked onto a different planet when I came back from my Sydney Banks experience. I literally walked on a different planet. Same world, different planet. The hills were the same. The trees were still where I saw them last. Many, many people left my world. Never saw them again. Literally, I never saw them again. The world was brighter. It was full of beautiful people. It was full of kind people. There was kind things going on. There wasn't all the shit things that I remember. I can still remember it. That's when I realized the world I see is a creation somehow of my being. And to have a different life, what we need to do is shift our frequency. Not our thoughts. Ignore our thoughts. Your thoughts change with your frequency. When you're in a higher frequency, your thoughts don't turn to anger and dismay and fear. They turn to, oh, it's pretty, isn't it? Wow, oh, they're lovely. They're kind people, aren't they? Wow, look at that view. Isn't that beautiful? You know, this rain's actually really pretty. It's really beautiful today. I'm really enjoying going for a walk in this rain. And then when our frequency of being drops, we're like, well, they're a fucking arsehole, aren't they? Bloody hell, this weather does my head in. You see, all those potentials exist all the time. And what we do is we meet them with our frequency of being. Some people liken it to an elevator. In the lower floors, you're probably going to find war and hostility. Higher floors, you're probably going to find wonderful things. Infinite floor. And no floor is wrong. It's just we met it. And you don't stay there permanently. You move around. That's allowed. It's perfect. Our thoughts are a reflection of our state of being. So don't worry about them. Don't worry about any of it. Myra.
Yes, I'm here.
What was your question, love?
Uh, let's see. I wasn't sleeping. I was totally listening to you, but I got into this really relaxed kind of floaty state.
That's where it's at. That's where it's at.
My question
Because
had to
the
do with, you
intellect's
started
gone-
talking about,
Sorry,
huh?
the intellect's gone to sleep at that point, and it's only the intellect that wants to have its question answered, because the intellect dreamt the question up in the first place.
Well, it's
Well,
a
let's hear
question
it.
that,
Let's
okay,
play
well,
it.
it's a question a lot of people might run into potentially too. So,
Go for it.
how do you speak, or how do you go about trying to help someone who you're talking to, whether it be a friend or a family member, or you're trying to help them, on a more professional capacity, whatever. But like, how do you speak to somebody who is suffering and down on themselves because they're having beliefs about God and the Bible that, they're not going to go to heaven if if, they're a sinner of some sort, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess there's some passage in the Bible that's like, the drunkards and these people and those people and that people, they're not going to make it to the kingdom of heaven or something, and when people are caught up in all of that kind of fear stuff, like, how do you approach that?
I don't know. Don't know, love.
Oh.
I honestly don't know. I had a client quite recently, evangelical Christian, and I mean, you just negotiate it. But I would say there is no thing in the passage in the Bible that suggests that thought and reality aren't related. You know, I don't find anything to the contrary about the principles and religion. It can be quite difficult for people to consider the notion that heaven isn't actually a place, it's a state of being, who are religious. And hell. So with this, I had this client earlier on this year, and it was very, very interesting. I found him very, very challenging because I was really interesting because I had to up my game. I couldn't just have an open conversation with him. I'd lose him like that, and I wanted to help the man. But the principles really do speak for themselves. However, this man really saw himself as a sinner. He saw me as a sinner, which was fine. I mean, the word sin, technically, I believe, comes from archery. It's an archery term, and it means to miss the mark. And in that case, then, whilst we're all running around thinking we're individualized egos and bodies, we've missed the mark. Yeah, we're sinners. I don't know, love. I don't really know how to talk to anyone. I just follow my heart whenever I have any conversation. It's just a conversation at the end of the day. That's all this is. It's just a conversation. The truth doesn't lie in the conversation. The truth lies in the individual.
Yeah, I think that maybe perhaps I'm starting to feel like or see myself in the situation a little bit differently. And I'm realizing that I have a fear when I speak to someone in this kind of mindset because they have so much external validation, with the Bible and religion and oh, that must be true type of thing. I think I'm feeling like in the face of that, I'm feeling small and like I guess I'm succumbing to thoughts that it's impossible or like but really I think maybe it goes back to what we were talking about, was it this morning or yesterday, about the wisdom of the moment.
Has this person asked you for help, Myra?
um not specifically, but we were in an in-depth conversation, and it's something that comes up sometimes for this person, and this person is more open-minded and they've had some exposure to the three principles, but they were sort of in my perception kind of collapsing back down again into a lower mood, into a lot of fear-based thinking around good and evil, and being scared they're going to go to hell for mistakes they made when they were 20. Sorry, the dog. Sorry.
It's all right.
Ah.
Had a fart ninja going off.
He doesn't like diesels. I couldn't even hear it. A diesel goes by, it goes nuts. Thor, it's okay, relax. But oh, I lost my train of thought now. Yeah, so we were just having an in-depth conversation, and they were sort of in like a space where they were suffering quite a bit, and I was trying to speak to them from just a good feeling place, and they were just feeling so drugged down and caught up in these fears about not being good enough to go to heaven, and a family member of theirs maybe not making it to heaven who had already passed, and being concerned about what happened to them because they weren't maybe the nicest person all the time, and just a lot of fear about punishment from God. And in the moment, I talked about the
Okay.
benevolent. Sorry,
Sorry,
what?
I was listening. I was just waving goodbye to Magnus. He's just on his way.
Oh, okay. I wasn't looking at the screen for a minute, so I don't know if I missed something. So I was talking to them about, so the wisdom of the moment that I had in that moment was about um that God's love is so big and so all encompassing that we can't even fully fathom it, right? And they agree with that, right? They agree with that. They believe in the love of God, right? So it's like, but how could that also be true, that God would punish you like that? I forgot exactly what I said in this moment. It was a little bit better than that, but but my wisdom of the moment kind of was like, well, hey, if God is this loving, benevolent being, that's part of all of us, and we are part of God, we are part of God mind, we are, you know how could that also be true? And they kind of reflected on it, but I know that it's so ingrained that it's like it's a difficult thing to get past, because it's an entire paradigm that is so deeply ingrained. But I guess I don't know. Maybe the answer is just following your wisdom as it comes, and not seeing them as broken because they are caught up in that paradigm. I don't know.
Certainly. Love, yeah, absolutely. They're not broken, and they're entitled to their point of view on the world. They're entitled to it. I don't know. None of my friends really know what I do. Next to none of them. I speak very, very rarely to my friends about work, this conversation. Some of them have quite a hard time. They have quite a hard time. If they don't ask me for help or speak to me, I may drop a couple of things in, feel the water, see what the water feels like. But if I feel like more often than not, they're not ready for it, I just back off. And I just let them have their life. But I just love them. I just love them. I just enjoy them as my friend, rather than trying to get them to think like me. Very few of my friends have I ever had a conversation with about this kind of thing. But it's because often people they're not asking for it. And if somebody's not asking for it, then who am I to give them feedback? I've tried it, I've done it before, it didn't go down so well. I learned.
Well, what do you do if someone shows up in their suffering to you a lot, right?
Yeah. I have people in my life like that. I just love them. Do you know, Myra, somebody who shows up in their suffering, if you can help them find something that can enjoy doing, their mind won't be on that is creating the suffering, and they will live a different experience in that moment. We've got friends and they're having a hard time in relationships, perhaps, or they're having a hard time with family members or this, that, and the other. We just go and have a crack with it. We just go and have fun. We keep it light. We keep it upbeat. We take the piss. We just enjoy each other's company. But the moment we go around and we start trying to descend upon them, like, come here, let me help you, it's like people go, what the fuck? Get away from me, you nut, you fuck off. And you know, people don't really want it, but unless somebody comes to you and specifically kind of presents or asks for help, especially if it's a friend, I would recommend just check yourself. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean, check yourself. Why do you feel the need to fix this person? Is it for them or is it for you? More often than not, when you check it, you'll realize it's actually trying to satisfy yourself.
I think in this situation, it's a combo.
Well,
It's
you can
like,
only,
it's like,
yeah, you
yeah.
can only take responsibility for your side of it. You know, and quite often I say that, you know, we're lighthouses. We're the ones who really are lighting the way for other people. And the way we do that is just by living our lives in in our version of integrity. You know, I don't always please everybody. I pissed the whole friggin' Three Principles community off by getting together with Jenny. Well, a lot of them anyway. You know, but a lot of people had a lot of judgment about that. And so, but to me, yeah, it wasn't the best way we got together. But however, it was what happened, and I'm so grateful for it. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it. I have the most wonderful wife. I have the most wonderful child. I have the most wonderful life, and we're both very, very happy together. But it's like trying to make somebody hear something. You can't make somebody hear something. I can't make anyone hear anything. The hearer is the listener who has the power. It's the listener who hears. All I can be is a signpost, and more often than not, my signpost will be just love people. And how do I go about doing that? I demonstrate it in the world. I go about being a loving man as best I possibly can, not out of obligation, but out of because I just feel better when I'm a loving human being, and I'm kinder. They're all right. They're all right. They're stuck in a story within their mind, and I tell you, if you can find a way of cracking some religious mindset, then you've done very, very extraordinarily done an extraordinary thing, because people are so afraid to drop their religious mindsets for fear of damnation and whatnot. But they're entitled to their reality.
Yeah, I suppose if I accomplish that, I should give a TED talk, huh?
Do you know what I would do, love? I would not try and accomplish it. I would just love the person. Just love them.
That's good feedback. Thank you.
If you try and fix that person, chances are they're going to run a mile. Why are we trying to fix somebody else? Why?
Yeah, that's definitely something I struggle with at times. And I come out of it, and I guess the way we kind of describe it here is like I get into a higher mood, I guess, right? And I feel free from it. And then they show up in their suffering. And the suffering, it's not just like a little suffering or like, medium, it's like heavy, right? So I kind of I something happens to me where I drop out of my, I guess, higher mood or higher state, and I start trying to fix. And um yeah, and then I get out of it and then I pop back into it again. So yeah, it's something I'm struggling with, and it might be because I had a mother who really suffered a lot and would beg me to help her and I couldn't. And I don't know if that's where I have some kind of belief system I'm not fully even conscious of that pulls me to do that, or if maybe it's just a natural human instinct, if somebody is struggling and you care about them, of course you want to help them, right? So um I don't know. I am having a lot of moments where I'm becoming free from it, I guess is a good way to put it. But I do keep getting sucked back into it. I don't even see it when it starts to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And give yourself, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace, love. But we don't need to go around fixing everyone. Quite often, our darkest time, what's that saying? It's the darkest just before the dawn. Quite often when people reach their real dark points in life, it is a catalyst for awakening. Certainly was for me. Sid said, when the time is right, when you're ready, he said, it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the Sahara Desert, somebody will show up and they will point you in the direction of truth. That's what happened to me. It's true.
Yeah, I'm struggling, like I'm actually crying right now and I'm like a little embarrassed to even talk right now, but
Don't be.
like I can get that thinking, because a lot of people's rock bottom is like, oh, it was just really hard for a long time, but some people's rock bottom is they're not going to be breathing anymore. And that's where I can't that's where I can't quite let it go.
However, that's not taken place, Myra. That's not happened.
No, but it almost has, and my direct intervention has prevented it. So it's
brilliant.
hard to.
But be
It's
careful.
hard.
Careful of creating stories of things that actually haven't happened. Just be careful of that, love, because I can hear that in your voice and I can hear it in your tears and in your crying. That the thought of them going. I remember my sister. I've mentioned this before, but my sister, her dog was her best friend, and she adored a dog. And I remember one day he was ill, and she phoned me up, and no, I phoned her up, and she was crying. I said, "Lisa, what's going on?" And she went, "Can you come and see me?" And I went and saw her down in she lived in a caravan at the time, and Ben was curled up in front of the fire, and she said, "Dave, I just don't know what I'm going to do when he's gone. How am I going to possibly cope without him in my life? He's been my everything. He's been through thick and thin with me. He's seen me through this, he's seen me through that." And she was crying. She was in the fetus position. She was on the sofa, and she was crying her eyes out. And I just said to her, Lise, said, he's there. He's there, look. He's in front of the fire now. Why don't you just go and give him a cuddle? And she slithered off the sofa and she went up and she started spooning Ben, and Ben just snuggled into her. And then she just looked at me and she went, "Oh my God, where have I been? Where have I been?" She said, "I've been so lost in the future." Just be careful, Myra, of creating stories that aren't true and then justifying them as well. I'm only saying this in the hope that you can see something into it that will help you gain insight into what creates suffering, and then with the hope that you will experience less of it.
Yeah, well, the story itself is true, but it's it's factual, but they are still here. Um, um, but so yeah, I think I'm, you know, similar to who you just described in that story, but um,
This is for you first, love. All of this whole 3 days is for you.
yes, yeah, I know.
No, Myra. This whole 3 days, love, is for you. For you. For you. 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 This is for you, love. This isn't for your friend. This is for you. You're listening for how to help a friend, you'll miss it.
Yeah, I'm listening for myself too.
Good.
Yeah, I definitely am.
Good, because this is only for you, love. Only for you. You can only give away what you've got.
Yeah, the friend's a close second, but yeah, I'm doing it for me. But
You can't
yeah.
give away what the only way that I can attempt to help somebody is to help point out where they're bought into their illusion of life, and then try and help them help to try and explain that why that's an illusion. And bit by bit, people can piece things together and go, "Oh, that was an illusion. That was an illusion." And shit, yeah, I see that, and I see that, and so perhaps bit by bit, it starts to build up, and people get small, incremental change in life. And sometimes, like Kate or like Colin or something like that, these people just go bang. Shit, that makes sense, and they get these big shifts take place in their lives, but it's because they heard. Now, Kate on the screen here, she didn't actually come for her. She came for her daughter. But luckily, Kate changed. The daughter didn't want to hear. The daughter was very much a lot like the friend that you seem to be describing, Myra. But Kate's daughter didn't want to hear either. Kate wanted to fix her daughter. Thankfully, Kate heard. And when Kate heard, then she knew how to be with her daughter. And because she was different with her daughter did rebel to begin with. And we said, careful, the daughter's going to rebel. She's not going to like the change in dynamics. She did for a little bit. Then everything changed. Can you speak a bit about that, Kate?
Hang on, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You asked if I could speak a little bit.
Yeah.
I can speak quite a lot. Yeah, no, I definitely was listening. Well, I wasn't listening. I was trying to fix, and I'm, I was there going, what? When's this going to be relevant? When's Dave going to get to the point? Stop talking about trees. When's he going to fix Georgia? And then I did. I had this moment where I just saw very clearly. And I just had a moment where I just sort of cried and I laughed, and I realised that Georgia just didn't need fixing, which, I hadn't realised for how many years that I've been trying to fix her. And it's funny because, Dave was just saying how when you hit rock bottom, it's funny how someone turns up and they can, if you're ready to hear, that there'll be someone there. And it's like, I'm now that I've like, I feel now it's become like my gift to share this with other people. And recently it's just been bizarre. I just come to expect it now, where these people just turn up who are ready to listen. And even today, there was this mother who she, from out of nowhere, she has arrived at my door, and she's having difficulties with her daughter. And I was just saying to her, and she seems, like she's ready to listen, but I was just saying to her, because she's slightly going down the route of, getting help and counseling and whatever. And I said, whoever is going to be teaching you, whoever is going to be sharing, who's going to be guiding you, their role is not to give you advice. Their role is not to tell you what to do. Their role is actually to remind you, that you know what to do. As a human, we all know what to do. We all just kind of, sometimes we just forget. And I found that it's incredible with children, especially with teenagers, and who seem to, I would run around like a headless chicken, like I think a lot of mothers, really anxious about, all the children who we think are, really broken and damaged by COVID and damaged by this. And actually they, all they want us, they don't need us to be anything. They don't need us to be strong. They don't need us to be positive. They don't need us to fix anything. What they're needing from us is to be. And that's it, just to be, and to be with them, which allows them to access that space of being within themselves. And then they have this incredible wisdom, and they have this incredible common sense, and they have this incredible intelligence, and they don't need us to tell them, to be constantly telling them what to do. And, that's always coming from, it's often coming from our own, fears and our own anxieties and our own. And it's like when Myra was talking about her friend, and I think earlier you said, well, I can't remember now what words you said, but when you're trying to fix something and there's this problem, and you're trying to, you can't help but get involved in the problem and in that person's story. And you immediately go into, it's funny when you start to watch it, you go into your head and you lose that sort of lightness, and you lose that nice feeling. And you find that you also kind of lose your common sense a bit, but you also lose your connection with the other person that you're with. And so it's like when you start to trust in this space of presence, and kind of beyond the story, beyond the, whatever it is that they're bringing alive, you trust that they can also connect with that. When you're not trying to fix, and when you're not trying to, it's like you connect with that space of being within yourself, but also they connect within it with that space that they, you start to trust that everyone has this within them. So when you trust that, it's like you don't need to do anything. You don't need to fix anything. You just start to notice when you start to get heavy, and when you start to get caught up in your head, it's kind of like you're not connecting with them anymore. And yeah, I was talking to someone the other day, again, who appeared like kind of the magic of the universe. And he brought this problem, and he said, and he knew, and he was quite worried about telling me this whole problem. And he started, talking about it. And then he was telling me all the details. And I was kind of talking to him, not really, not really addressing the problem. We were just talking, and I was talking about my experience, and I was talking about all sorts of things, all sorts of crazy stuff that just like Dave does. And I just, at the end, he said, I've been listening, and I said, and I feel like there's this, I've got this warm blanket. He said, it's just like I have this feeling of this warm, like this safety blanket, this warm blanket. And I said to him, I said, just just get interested in that, you know, because your head will say that's not enough, you know, that feeling that you're having, you know, where you have that kind of nice feeling and that lightness, and it's actually, that's everything. It's all that exists, you know, that warm connection and that warm feeling, that is everything when we're not creating. You know, that's actually that space of presence and that space of truth. And it is, your feelings are kind of a barometer of where you are, because when you're feeling heavy, you are, you know, it's fine. You're just in your head and you're bringing thoughts alive, and there's nothing. Immediately, I find what people try to do is they try and change the content of their head to feel better. And it's like, what if you don't have to? We don't have to change anything, because it's not going to hurt you. There's nothing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you're stuck in a story, and so it's the same for someone else. You know, when they're stuck in a story and they are really struggling, it looks like, oh shit, you know, I need to do something. I need to really help them. But actually, what you're doing then is connecting with the, oh my God, they're not okay. But actually, when you see that they're just creating a whole like scenario in their head, whatever it is, they've really gone down a rabbit hole. The only way really is to know that they're okay, and it's as if by magic they'll reappear and they'll say something that is, you know, amazing. And it doesn't have to come from you. You don't have to give it to them. They have it in them. And I just think that the more you see this, the more you see that when you connect with that truth, and when you connect with that knowing yourself that we're all the same, we're all doing the best we can, just living in just different levels of awareness, and you don't need to change anything. You just know that everyone's awareness can unfold as it's supposed to. And it's, you know, it's not up to you. You can't give someone else awareness. And I have found that really humbling as a mother, because at the beginning I wanted to give my daughter awareness in order for me to feel better, you know, and, you know, you need, you know, why aren't you getting this? And you need to see this. And now I've watched as I've completely changed. Like if she gets stuck in something, I don't rush to change it like I used to. I just show her. Even if she's doing some really that crazy stuff, which she can still do, you know, as we can all do, she can still get caught up in stuff. But because I don't try and change it, I can just be in complete acceptance of whatever it is that she's doing, knowing that she'll come out of it. She comes out of it way more quickly on her own. She'll just reappear. And then she would be lighthearted when 5 minutes ago she was connecting with some crazy storm in her head. But there is, yeah, right, I'm going to stop talking. I talk for hours, so yeah.
Love that, Kate.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, it's interesting because when I was at my wit's end and I was going to plan on taking my own life, 2013, Sue was the only person who saw me as whole. The lady who introduced me to the principles. No therapist, no psychologist, no counselor, no psychiatrist, no doctor, no family member saw my wholeness. They all saw broken, and they all spoke to my broken. And because they spoke to my broken, it reinforced the idea that I was broken within myself. But then Sue came along, and she was the one who kind of shone the light on my wholeness. She was the one who did not buy into my crap. And she was the lady who helped guide me out. Beautiful, Kate. Thank you for the feedback there, Myra. Yeah, love that Kate connected with what you said. Wonderful. Thank you, Kate. Jen, do you want to say something?
I don't know if the moment's passed now. I don't know.
I'll look after Lou, so you come and sit here.
Want me a cup of tea?
Baba. Am I muted on this?
I've muted it.
You're muted.
I put my hand up probably about half an hour ago, so I'm not even sure what I was going to say. I think it was around just going easy on ourselves. Like, we don't have to get it right every single time. Just showing up for people is enough. And I always remember a story at the very first conference in the UK, I think it was in 2010. There was a guy there who was all dressed smartly in a suit, and he was sat with a lot of the psychologists and psychiatrists. And when it was his time to speak, he spoke about he'd been on a basketball scholarship at university, and had a breakdown in the first year and ended up in a psychiatric ward, to the point where he was just curled up in the fetal position for months. And it was interesting because his recovery didn't come from someone talking to him about the 3 principles. The moment his life changed was when he said he doesn't know who it was. Someone walked into the room when he was sobbing in the fetal position with his head against the wall on his bed, and someone just sat with him and put their hand on his back and just sat there and gently stroked his back for a bit, and then left him be. And he said there was something in that woke something up in him, and it started to shift him. And I think we can really overcomplicate life, and we can learn about the principles and get so overexcited that we've got something that's going to help everyone. But really what we've discovered is what's already up and running, what already exists. And we've just suddenly sort of realised it. And the amount of times, especially with friends and family, all they've needed from me is just to be there and be present. And because of my absolute knowing that I'm all right, everyone else is all right, however they show up, I see that mental health, I see wisdom, I see perfection. It's like you just have to hold that space for people until they see it for themselves. And it's a really tough thing, because in this life some people will see it and some people won't, but they're still all right. That doesn't change the fact. And I've been really grateful for the lessons I've learned when I have showed up thinking I know best and I'm going to fix it, or thinking, right, I'm just going to say this to the person, it's going to help them so much. And you just learn and you learn and you learn and you grow. And when we all went through an experience last year with someone very close to us, I think Dave mentioned it briefly earlier, they had the kind of acute psychosis was about 9 weeks. That the thing that came to Dave, which was kind of, he put words to what I was feeling, is it was love and patience, love and patience, love and patience. And when you run out of love and patience for yourself. And I think that was one of the things that we all we got to rotate being with this person as they went through that experience. Because we'd get to the point where we could see we were getting lost in them and lost in their story and lost in our fears that they might never come back, or that they might take their own life, or they might get lost in the psychiatric system. And as soon as we found we were losing our bearings, we'd kind of rotate out. And for the person's mum, who couldn't always rotate out, she said sometimes it was really tough and she would almost be falling apart herself. And then it was love and patience with herself. And we're a family who've been around the principles now since my sister 2004, me 2005. My parents since about end of 2005, 2006. So it's not that you learn about these principles and somehow you're going to just always know what to do. But actually, the less we have on it and the more present we are, it's amazing what resilience we find within ourselves, what wisdom comes. The times when we should speak and the times when we need to be quiet. It's incredible what we can go through. Like with this person now, we sometimes have conversations and I'm like, do you remember this part of it? And like, what was going on for you? And, you know, we felt like the way that they were living was so horrendous. It felt like it almost felt like child abuse, because they wouldn't allow, basically they'd stripped their entire room, chucked everything out the window. it destroyed the room. It looked like a squat. And then every night we'd had all these spare mattresses donated to us. We'd have to get one of the mattresses down, put it in the room with some fresh linen, and hope that it would make it through the night. It normally didn't. It would end up out the window or slashed or put in the shower, like random things. And it's interesting because when we speak to this person now, they weren't in the suffering we thought they were. They thought we were all mad and that they had it right. So the thing that we learned through that is also be careful, because when we witness someone else, we can only view it through how we would feel if we showed up like that. And like sometimes if I've seen Dave get cross, like he said to me when we got together, at some point you'll see me get angry and it's not nice. Like he's never said, I've come across these principles and I don't do anger anymore. It changed him and he's a different man, but he can still get angry. And I was like, yeah. The first time I saw him lose it, I was just like, it wasn't even at me, it was at somebody else. I was like, and I don't know, I felt so affected by it. And within a very short space of time, he calmed down and was getting on with his day. But in my mind, if you got that angry and if you experienced what he'd just experienced, you must be really suffering. There must be something really wrong. And well, maybe he needs to do some more stuff on the principles. Like, I had all this judgment, but it's because we only can ever view anything through our own experience, through our own mind, through our own belief system. And I think the beauty of the principles is it keeps allowing us to go back to the drawing board and allowing our mind to clear, because then we show up different without all of our ideas about what this person needs or doesn't need or should do. And I think I've been so grateful for this. And I've put my foot in it countless times since 2005. But I feel like the fact that people, and I think it was Myra who'd asked the question, I know other people have spoken about it, the fact that we want to help the next person, the fact that we want to help people come out of suffering, like you can see this inherent kind of love in us, and that is the thing that helps and changes people, is love. And sometimes it's wordless and sometimes it shows up with words, but I feel like if we can go easy on ourselves first, if we can stay within our center, and then when we're not in our center, go easy, like give ourselves a break. The amount of people I speak to are just beating themselves up for not getting life right, not being the right partner, or not doing well in business or relationships, or lots of people I've spoken to over the years who have done coaching, like not having a good enough coaching practice, not helping enough people, not getting out there enough. Like it's so heavy. And I feel like we've got a friend at the moment in a relationship and it's been really tricky for about 9 months. And one of his friends said to him, aren't relationships supposed to kind of be fun and lighthearted? Like, isn't this life stuff supposed to be a little bit more fun and lighthearted? And I think Dave mentioned it, if we can bring that lightheartedness sometimes, so we don't get so kind of caught up in what we're presented with us, we can be respectful. I don't know, I think it can help pull someone out of it. It can help someone laugh at themselves or realize what they're doing to themselves, full present. And that was the beauty of this experience with the person in psychosis. One of the things they'd started doing when we were in a rental, a friend had let us stay in their house, is they'd started writing their name on everything, because apparently everything belonged to them. So I got to the point where I was like, right, I get that you want everyone to know that everything belongs to you. Can we do it on post-it notes rather than with permanent marker? Because this isn't our house. And she was like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. So we had post-it notes. We had post-it notes everywhere. But it was like moments of clarity and little moments that happened throughout that where there was humor. And some of the situations where, we'd had to call the police at one point because they'd destroyed the house, and the police had shown up, and then the ambulance showed up, and this person went off with their mum, and we thought, wow, they're probably going to be sectioned and have a few days. And we were feeling a bit relieved at that point, like we need a few days off. 3 hours later, they were released and came back to the house. But we managed to, I don't know, there's something about, because we have seen for ourselves that this is true, that truth allows you to see it within other people regardless of what shows up. And I think that's why everyone says, keep seeing this for yourself, keep seeing this for yourself. This is for you. This is for you first. But I just think I take my hat off to anybody who wants to help the next person. I think it's wonderful. So I don't know how I was listening on the headphones, but we've been up to the walk, we've walked through the churchyard, we've collected sticks, we've collected things to give Dave, we've we've done all kinds of things. So I have been listening, but then I've had a nearly 2-year-old chattering away about all kinds of things. Yeah, so I hope you found that helpful, Myra, but it's maybe from
I did. Thank you.
Has anyone else got questions? I'm trying to see what the time is.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. You coming in? Ooh. You coming to say hello? Have you got anything to tell people? What have you got to say? What have you got to say? Where have we been? Where have we been?
This is Mantis in a nappy. He's great.
What does Mantis eat?
What does Mantis eat? Potatoes. Everybody knows praying mantises eat potatoes. And this is the fart ninja. It's that. But it's got a sensor on its head there. Well, it's not to everybody's taste, admittedly, but
It's a pop.
Harry's got 2, I think.
has he?
You can imagine. He likes them.
My sister loves it. It's off. Well, the pop ninja's off. Yeah, put it down. There we go. Yeah, no, I'll leave it off. Should we have a break?
Yeah, good idea.
Let's take a break. We'll just take 10 minutes and then we'll round up and see if there's any more reflections or anything like that. It'd be lovely to hear from people.
Okay.
So we'll just take a 10-minute break and then we'll come back.
Okay. All right then.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I love what Jen said just before the break. I miss having my right hand woman. But it is fun having Lucy here as well. Has anybody got anything they'd like to share, say, anything like that? It's very rare that people have shifts on these retreats. Most of the time it's when we're minding our own business. Walking the dog, driving the car, making tea, in the shower. And something just shifts within us. We awaken to a newer, a realization of some description. it's interesting because going back into our lives after this, like the fellow was telling you about who came for his wife who had the drinking thing, like going back to work and suddenly seeing how he interacted with work differently, and he wasn't expecting that. He didn't come for it. Yeah, quite often people get all the change in their life apart from around the thing that they want to change. Should tell people an awful lot. There's a real clue there. What are we holding on to? What idea are we holding on to? Well, we've got about half an hour left. I got no problem with drawing this to a close. I thought I've drawn a diagram. Would anybody like to see a diagram? Because I have drawn it. So it seems a proper shame to wait.
Sure.
Myra, is that all right?
Yes.
All right.
Very curious.
Yeah, well, don't judge me. I am. It's a bit crap. Let's move this. See if I can get this into position.
Oh, I am going to jump in real quick, Dave. You didn't see the last time you had the paper up there and you wrote down everybody's questions. And I thought for sure you're going to flip through the paper this time, and you didn't do it.
No, Jenny said that. She said we didn't do that. And I'm like, you're bloody right. I love doing that.
I thought it was cool.
I love doing it. No,
So the diagram's great. So we got the whiteboard up here.
yeah, it's been there the whole time. Perhaps I should have used it a bit more. Who knows? It was what it was. I'm just going to lower it though, because that laptop's quite low. Too low? That'll be all right. We can get away with that. Can you guess what it is yet?
Dave, why do you keep doing the colours wrong?
Helen, Quantum
Every
physics.
time you've done it, you do it like that.
What's wrong with that? I do it like that,
What's-
Helen, because it's
It's
how
from the song, isn't it?
Yes, it's from
Yeah,
the
I
song.
know. But it
Look
doesn't
at
look
like
right.
and green, orange and purple and blue. And the reason why I do that is because I haven't got the brain power and bandwidth to draw an actual rainbow in its colour formation.
It's like someone's playing the piano and they're playing the notes wrong.
Yeah, I did say it's probably crap.
But I do like the diagram, so I'll be quiet.
Only probably. Yeah, Helen, you've seen this, so I'll keep your gob shut. All right. Does anybody here like a rainbow? Zoe, you were one of the first people to nod. Why? Why do you like
Yes.
a rainbow? Myra likes a rainbow. Zoe, why do you like a rainbow?
It's so magical how it appears with rain combined with sunlight. It's just like, where's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Ever since I'm a kid, right? It's just mysterious and awe-inspiring and beautiful.
Probably got enough words there. Myra, why do you like a rainbow?
Why do I like a rainbow?
Yeah.
Never really thought about it, but I don't know. I saw one recently. I hadn't seen one in God forever. Not like a big one, you know. And I went out hiking and in the Grand Canyon of Texas, and
Wow.
we actually stumbled upon a double rainbow. And we were in the car driving and through part of the park, and my friend was like, "Oh, look, there's a rainbow." And I was like, and I thought to myself in my head, I said, well, rainbows are lucky. And I thought in my head, but a double rainbow's really lucky. It's not a double rainbow. And we got out to look at the rainbow, and it was a double rainbow. But it was huge. It was gigantic. And like she said, it's just there's something like magical and mesmerizing about it. It just, we felt like awe-inspired and blessed.
Cool. Anybody else? Catherine, why do you like a rainbow? This is a very feminine response.
No, this is because, as far as I believe, the 7 colours of the rainbow we need for Earth's creation.
Oh.
So, like with plants, like you mentioned, we all need the different colours of the rainbow. I do know through my work, which involves light, in that plants need the blue and the yellow from the rainbow to survive.
The spectrum of light from the spectrum.
Yes, so they need they just need blue and yellow. So as humans and the planet, I believe that we need the 7 colours for survival.
Okay. All right. I'm going to chuck a couple of other words in here just for my own sake, because it helps with the diagram at the end. Natural. That's it. It's nature. Because what you do people know? People obviously, I'm guessing, know how a rainbow works, how they come about. You've got this water, which you can see there, which is drawn on with the word water above it. So you've got this water, and then you've got this light. You have to imagine this arrow is light refracting through water or through a crystal or a piece of glass or something, splits this white light into a spectrum of infinite color. So you've got this infinite color, and Helen, yes, I know it's anatomically incorrect if it has got any anatomy. However, I'm just not that clever to kind of be able to talk about it in the way I want to, and it would just fuck my diagram up if I had to do it the other way. So this is a rainbow done in the way of the song, because it's easy for me to remember. So here we have this spectrum. It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum of light. You've got all this light coming in, and as it goes through the water, it breaks up this white light into all its component colors. Is there a wrong color in the rainbow? Tall Kath shaking their head. Zoe shaking her head. No. Helen shaking her head. No wrong color. So we're in agreement that within the spectrum of light, there is no such thing as a wrong color. No, that wouldn't make sense. Nature, why would nature put a wrong color in to the spectrum of light? That would be ridiculous. The color's there because it's meant to be there. The color's there because it's a fact. It's a component of white light. So it must be there. So here we have this spectrum, and as we start to go out of the red, sorry, Helen, out of the red, we start going into infrared light, because this is just an aspect of the spectrum that actually is there present, but because of our optics, our eyes, we only get to see a certain percentage of a certain bandwidth within the spectrum of light. We only get to see a certain frequency of color. We only get to see a certain frequency of light, but we know that above the rainbow it starts going into infrared. And as we start going below the rainbow, we start going into ultraviolet. We now have optics, cameras and whatnot that can photograph this. We know that the rainbow continues on infinitum and goes down. We just get to see this certain part of light. That's all we get to see. And that's what we think is the full spectrum of reality. Just this bit. There's all this light around us now that we can't see. There's all these other energies around us that we can't feel, we can't sense them. We think reality is restricted to our senses. All right, I'm going to change this spectrum. Now we've got a totally different spectrum. Can everybody read that? Is that better? See, right up Kate's nose, and I heard her say, what does that say? Okay, we've got thought. We've got consciousness. Okay. Above, we've got love. Below, we've got fear. We now have the human emotional spectrum, the spectrum of experience, the spectrum of feeling. Okay, we have all these different colours. And for ease, sorry, Helen, I have made the top love and the bottom fear. I once tried to turn it around just to mix it up a bit and it just mixed my head up, so I stick with what I know. Now we've got this new spectrum. The human emotional spectrum, or I prefer to call it the nature spectrum of emotion, because humans are nature. And I remember my little dog Rusty had every single emotion that I experienced as well. I could see it in him. He got scared, he got excited, he got loving, he got compassionate, he got angry, he got jealous, he got all these emotions. They're not human emotions, they're nature's emotions. But here we have this human emotional spectrum. What we have is consciousness, thought reflected within consciousness, from within consciousness, creating an emotion, creating a feeling state. Okay. Now, today, pretty much, I woke up around, I was a bit groggy this morning, actually. I was woken up about 6:30 this morning by Lucy, which I wasn't overly impressed with. So I think I woke up in a bit of an orange mood, which then quickly elevated when I decided I was going to go and get a cup of coffee. So I suddenly found myself probably in a bit of yellow, having a lovely cup of coffee. Then I looked around the kitchen and realised my sister had left all the pots and pans in the sink. Came down a little bit here. Freaking scruffy little shit. I've got a baby. I cooked tea last night. Whinge, 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 whinge. Jenny comes down with Lucy. Oh, it's night morning, Luce. How you doing? Forgot about the washing up. Blah, blah, blah. Did a bit of work heat on with you lot. Really enjoyed that. Then I went to soft play. Really enjoyed soft play. Pulling out of soft play, I pulled out and there was a car miles away. I wasn't any problem whatsoever. And he decided he was going to give me some verbal abuse. Right down here. Fucking cheeky bastard. Cheeky bastard. Anyway, very swiftly forgot about that and carried on. And throughout the day, I've had all different kinds of feeling states. All of it created from consciousness and the way I think about any particular subject. Okay, consciously or unconsciously. Program, if you want to call it programming, programming simply meaning our beliefs. That flavors our life. Jesus Christ was a man who said, "It's done unto you as you believe." Reality is done unto you as you believe. However you think about a subject is how it's going to appear to you, and it's your reality. So how do you want to live? So this is kind of how my day's gone. Just this last hour or so, my back's kind of started to give me a bit of jip. I felt myself feeling a little bit uncomfortable and sort of feeling a little bit like that. And then the fart ninja went off. It was quite funny. I quite enjoyed that. And it was like, it's just been like that. Okay, so I've been in and out of all different feeling states today. None of them have stuck around. I've been in red, I've been in yellow, pink, green. I probably haven't been as far down as blue or purple or anything like that. That's probably a slight exaggeration. When I would say blue, purple, I'm talking like depression, anxiety, worries, all those. I haven't been that far down today. I have been in my lifetime. But so we have this spectrum of human experience, and we go in and out of all different feeling states throughout the day. Now, at some point, for some reason, and the judge is out on this one. I don't know if it was clever or intentional, or I don't know if it was ignorance. But somewhere along the line, what we did was we kind of went, okay, so if you're feeling like between red and green, that's okay. If you're feeling between orange and purple, perhaps you need to start seeing a psychiatrist. And if you're feeling somewhere between purple and blue, you're ill. Why? Because you feel a certain way. So therefore you must be ill. We split the human experience rainbow into parts, and we said, well, this part's all right. Yeah, that's all right. That bit's getting a bit dodgy. That bit's an illness. And that illness idea has really, really permeated our Western society. This idea that because we feel a certain way that we must be ill, there must be something wrong with us. And we are medicated, we are given all kinds of mad things to kind of do with our lives. And I mean, this idea of illness here is worth billions and billions of dollars. It is worth billions and billions of dollars. That's why the jury's a little bit out for me on this one. I don't know whether it was clever or whether it was just ignorant. I don't know. But either way, it's not ill. If you feel a certain way, you're not ill. It's not an illness. You know, if I feel a bit fucked off and a little bit depressed and a bit angry and arsey, and I decide, right, you know, I'm just going to go for a walk or something like that, and perhaps on this walk my mood lifts, I couldn't just shake cancer by going for a walk. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't just shake motor neurons disease or something like that by putting on a funny film. But I can shake my feeling states by focusing my attention on something else. So if that's true, then it can't be ill. It can't be an illness, because an illness is something you can't just wake up from. All right, I just wanted to bring this, just to highlight this, that these feelings that we all feel, everybody on earth feels all of these feelings throughout the day. I don't know where anybody else will be on this, but I'm sure I'm representing what most people on this screen would have felt something like today. That I've had a really good day, and a little niggly bit just there, and blah blah blah. You know, I heard Myra cry, so she was somewhere in here, perhaps. Really got a bit upset, and she thought about something. Nothing was happening in the world The only thing that was happening was actually this conversation, the computer screen and whatnot. Nothing was actually taking place in the world. Myra had a thought, and we all got to see this. Myra had a thought about a scary potential future, and it really upset her. All these feelings clearly couldn't have been coming from the future because it's not here, and what she was talking about clearly hasn't taken place as yet, even if it maybe won't. But however, we can live with we can create all these emotions in the now. So how are these being created? Well, they're being created from consciousness and the moment we think about it. You know, Myra's suffering wasn't really there until she started to think about it, thinking about the subject that scared her. So that was a beautiful example in real life on this screen time. And why I really want to bring this is, one of the greatest gifts I discovered through this was the realization that feelings are not to be afraid of. We don't need to be afraid of feeling, especially us fellas. You know, us fellas, we've been kind of taught some bullshit that it's not manly to feel and whatnot. And I think as a society, we've been taught that certain feelings are really not welcome. But by doing so, we've taken a totally natural spectrum of experience and we've condemned some and we've celebrated others. And what I would like people to start to consider is, could we unify the whole thing again, put it back to its original state? Could we consider that there is no division within the rainbow? All the colours merge into one another. There's no division. The rainbow's always perfect. The rainbow's always perfect. It's always whole. You can't break the rainbow. There are no wrong colours in the rainbow. There's no wrong colours. There's no wrong colours in the rainbow in the sky, and there's no wrong colours in the rainbow within our being. What we truly have is a magical, mysterious, awe-inspiring, beautiful, mesmerizing, life-providing spectrum of experience.
I have a terrible question, unless I would be interrupting.
Just a little bit just now, but come to the, we'll have the question in a second. No matter what part of the rainbow we find ourselves in, understanding its creation, its origin, its source is the same no matter whether we are in love or we are in fear. Its origin is thought, consciousness. That creates our reality. That creates our reality. And so I think it was Myra said, lucky? Was it Myra who said it was lucky? Yeah. I like that.
Yes.
I like that. We are lucky to have all these emotions. We are lucky to be born onto this earth, to have all these experiences. What a gift. What a gift to feel. What a gift to be alive. And what a gift to start to wake up to see how it actually works. What a gift to wake up from illness to realize it never actually existed. What we had was an experience. Depression, experience. Anxiety, experience. PTSD, experience. Bipolar, experience. It's all experience. Schizophrenia is an experience. It's all an experience. The whole thing's experience. It's all experience. It's all experience. It's all experience. And when we start to see this, you realize none of it needs to be worried about. We don't need to be afraid of any of it. And the more we become aware of that, the more time we spend in these higher colors. Because so many people suffer go into fear about their feelings, thinking that they're indicative of who and what they are, but there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. The moment their raindrops change, their color changes. Does that make sense? Well, Myra, your question, love.
Okay, I feel like it's a terrible question. You've
Go on,
probably
let's
heard it before, but I'm newer. So, and I feel like I have an idea of what you're going to say because you've talked about forgiving criminals and having compassion and seeing them as lost and whatnot. But what about like the really dark stuff, like the, you know, serial killer, torturing, psychopathy, child trafficking, psychotic people? Like, you know, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, everything is, you know, everything's perfect. And I can see, you know, if you really pan out, you know, we're all of God, right? We're all of, you know, everything's perfect in creation, right? I can get on board with that. But at the same time, like, still kind of got to struggle with kind of the extreme stuff. You know, people that actively, you know, seek to destroy other people for their own, you know, pleasure and gratification and sense of power, and people like that do exist.
Yep.
So how do you process that, I guess, so you don't get dragged down by it, I guess?
Well, firstly, I don't tell anybody how to think. If somebody wants to get upset about all of that, they're perfectly entitled to. I can't judge anybody for getting upset by any of that stuff. Sure, right? Walk into the door. You know, and that's up to them. I don't know. I've learned through experiencing life that if I hold on to resentment and grudges, I suffer. Nobody else. My resentment towards people who hurt other people doesn't help anybody. It doesn't bring relief to the people who've been hurt. It doesn't bring pain to the individual or relief to the individual who perpetrated the act. And I suffer. It brings zero value to planet Earth. It just brings another person suffering into the collective consciousness of humanity. And to me, that makes no sense. So I forgave everybody in one go. I forgive everyone. I do forgive everyone. I choose to be in a higher state of consciousness. I choose to be in a higher state of being. I also have been the person who's been to prison for violence. I've been that man. I know how easy it is to act on a thought. I know how easy it is to act on insecurity. And I know I'm not the only person on the planet who does that. And anybody who, it's like that old saying, hurt people hurt people. People in well-being and kindness don't go around hurting people. That's why I'm with Dickon on this. I believe this world's heading in a beautiful direction. I truly do. You can look outside and you can go, bullshit, Dave, look at the state of the world. No. This world is heading in a beautiful direction. And it's doing so because people are waking up. They're starting to find compassion. They're starting to find understanding. More and more people are becoming interested in this kind of conversation. I didn't think I'd be interested in this kind of conversation. I was a dickhead. Still can be. I was a knobhead. I was a lost man. And it found me. So if it can find me, it can find anyone. So like I said right at the beginning, Myra, I'm not here to tell anybody how to think. I'm here to present a logic about how reality is born. That you create reality. Well, I can't see your reality. Have you got a brother or sister, Myra?
I do.
What you got?
I got one of each.
All right. Do you all see the same world? Do you all get along all the time? Or do you all like
No.
the same thing?
No.
No, all right. So you come from the same genetic stock, I'm guessing?
Partially. They're both half.
Both half, all right. Even when you've got identical twins, they're very, very different people. So you see, there's no two people the same because no two people on earth see the same reality. So all my job is to do is to help people wake up to the logic about reality. Reality is not outside of us. Reality looks like it's outside of us. You know, annoying people look like they're out there. No, annoying people are from within. That's how we perceive them, how we think about it. Terrible, horrible, evil people. I don't see evil, I see ignorance. That's what I think evil on this earth is. It's ignorance, it's lack of awareness, it's not knowing. It's not knowing the nature of who and what we are. It's not knowing the nature of reality. Those that do the most unkind acts are those that are the most lost. Those are the people that need love the most. That's my perspective on it. That's how I see it. I haven't always, but that's how I see it now. So that's, for me, how I don't condemn people. I've been that man. I know people similar. I know people who've been abused, and I know people who have abused. I know people, I've met many people who've killed people. I've been in a cell with them. There was one, my first day in prison taught me one of the greatest lessons in life. I was in Durham prison. Anybody who knows Durham prison in northeast of England will know it's where some of our most dangerous people are. It's a category A prison, and I was in a double A wing when I first went in, and I was with the noisiest man on the wing, the most aggressive man on the wing, shouting all the time, continuously shouting. And the moment I walked into the cell, I saw which cell was open because I could hear him shouting, and I saw I was sharing the fucking cell with this man. I was like, you are kidding me. And they took my cuffs off, they pushed me inside, and they locked this door that's like that wide, steel door. And I was locked in this room, tiny room with this man. First thing he says to me is, you look like you can handle yourself, man. Can you handle yourself? I said, if I have to. What's your name? I said, it's Dave. Davy. And he starts screaming down the wing, his name's Davy. His name's Davy. Terrifying, man. He had a cloudy eye where he'd been blinded with a shard of glass. Somebody had smashed him in the face with glass. He was just off his head. Mental, man. And he was like, mine's the top bunk. I was like, all right. Off the top bunk. And that night, the suicide alarms went off, and he started screaming, see you, Beckloff. He started screaming this thing. It was something. I've never remembered those first two words. Something, suicide, something, suicide. All night, he just ranted and raved and threw things out the window and just did weird shit. And then in the morning, he went to wake me up and he was bouncing me, he was shaking me. Like, Davey, man, wake up, wake up. I hadn't slept a bloody wink. Like, Davey, man, wake up, wake up. And I just pretended to be asleep. Davey, man, wake up, man, wake up, man, wake up, man. And then he left me alone, and within a couple of minutes, cell door opened, and I didn't know he was going. He was just handcuffed and taken out. And he went up to Glasgow, I think. He was moved prisons. I just lay my first morning in prison, thinking, what the fuck has my life come to? How have I ended up here? This wasn't on my plan. Who am I? Who am I? What's this monster lying in this bed now? And after a wee while, I decided I was going to get up, and I got up and I stretched my legs and I walked to the end of the cell, which took me about a second. It's tiny. And I noticed this piece of paper with some writing on it, and I picked it up and I read it, and it said, "Dear Davey, don't worry, this won't be as bad as what you think. And it won't be long before you're back with the people who love you, your friends and family. I wish you luck." And he signed his name. I remember being gutted that I didn't open my eyes and say, "Good luck, mate. Wish you well." That man had inside of him, he had all the anger and rage. He also had probably the deepest love I was shown in that prison. Yeah, that taught me a lot about people. It humbled me. Like I say, it's up to anybody how they want to think. It's up to them how they choose to use their God-given gift of creation and what world they want to live in, because you don't live in the world outside, you live in the world inside. There is no world outside we ever get to experience. The whole world outside is from within. You only get to experience what you make up about the world outside. People, circumstance, weather, work, good people, bad people, it's all made up. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. I think I was replying to, she's still here, Myra?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
No, I was going to say, what I've seen around awareness for me is that it's kind of like, for me, it feels like this gift that it's not, it's not through, like Dave was saying earlier, it's not through understanding them, it's not through working any of this out. And like for me, when this landed on me, I still hadn't worked out which bit's mind and which bit's consciousness, which bit. I kind of was understanding the thought bit, but I was like, mind and consciousness still don't. Anyway, so it's like, it's this gift that when you're quiet, it can land on you. And this is why you can't, there is this humility around it, and this is why you can't give it to someone else. You can point towards it. And when this sort of landed on me, quite unexpected, because I wasn't looking for it for me, I started to see, like, everything changed, and I started to see the innocence in everyone's behavior. And I went from like being quite a probably judgmental person to just seeing the world differently. And I couldn't, you know, I just, when you talk about like, you know, these people who are, I don't know, murderers, or when you hear about them on the news, it's like, I just don't feel the same way as I used to. And it's not because I've done anything, it's not because I'm trying, it's just because everything has changed. And it's this awareness that behavior is just your awareness playing out. So I feel that we go through life sort of sleepwalking, and we get glimpses all the time of consciousness, of, you know, of our true being, of our true self, but we ignore the glimpses all the time because we're so busy trying to work everything out, and we're so busy in our realities and in our heads. And it's not like we do it on purpose, but we're just, and then sometimes when we hit rock bottom, we hit that wall, and sometimes that's when this can come alive, you know, through that struggle of, you know, just almost giving up trying to work life out, and just, it's, you suddenly see something that you've known all along, all your life, but you've never recognized it before. And everything, you know, gradually can change. And but once you see that, if you're grateful for whatever awareness you have in this moment, then that for me is enough. Like, people are always looking for more, and they're searching, and then they take themselves into their mind. And it's like, when you become grateful, or you see the choice to be grateful for whatever awareness you have in this moment, it's like you can be given more, or you can, you know, and it's so, like, if in the moment you can't see maybe how, you know, how could you forgive those people, or how could you, then that's okay, because, you know, that has to be okay, because that is where, you know, the awareness might be in this moment. And then, but you never know when that's going to change. And it's like when I was talking to my husband about this, and there was this horrible thing in the news that he was talking about, and I was kind of saying, I wasn't telling him to believe me or to see it my way, but I was kind of saying how I saw it, and how, for me, the behavior is not the person. And I can't unsee that. It is just the way it is. I don't see the behavior in the person as one. And so there is an innocence, you know, there's always a psychological innocence. And there is I see everyone is doing the best that they can, given the level of awareness that they have. And it's like we're all the same. And when I'm in judgment, then I'm in my own, you know, egoic state. And so I don't know, I don't do anything, but it doesn't kind of make sense. But what Pete said which was really made sense to me, and I really heard it, was, you know, he said I would love to see it that way. I would love to see what you see, because there is a freedom in that. You know, you're not holding on to this anger and this, you know, this judgment, and you have this peace and this calm. And he said, but I don't have that awareness yet. And in that, even in that, you know, sort of, I don't have that awareness yet, there's that humility around, you know, but there is, you know, that's where there's a chance that it can, you know, it can land on you, because it's not something that we can ever create in our heads. And it's not something that's not what this is ever about. It's always going to be a feeling that when you get interested in it, it just grows. And I think there is this, you know, humility is something I've seen so much around, because it is that with the feeling of humility, not with the understanding it with your head, but with the feeling of humility, you're released from whatever judgment you're in, or from whatever experience you're having. And then you access, you know, this sort of space beyond all the stuff in your head, all the thinking, and that's when you see life differently. But it's never going to be something that you manufacture in your head. So I don't know if that's making any sense as I'm saying it out loud, but sorry.
It does.
I guess it's just like, I never asked for this, and yet everything changed. And I don't even feel that I need to forgive. I don't even feel that for me, it doesn't even feel like forgiveness, because I don't think there is anything to forgive, because it doesn't, it's just, would you be angry with someone who was literally sleepwalking and doing some crazy stuff while they were asleep? You just wouldn't, because you can see that they're asleep. And when you see how much we believe everything in our heads, and how, because it's so real, and anyone who says, oh, it's just your thinking, as in, sometimes it's like, oh, it's just your thinking, and you're saying it's just your thinking. No, I'm saying that it's the power of thought that creates your entire reality, that sort of consumes you, so you believe it and you get stuck in it, and it's the most powerful thing. So it's never just your thinking, it is everything. And yet when you're not paying attention to it, it has no power of its own. It's only everything because you're giving it energy, and you're giving it power, and then it becomes everything for you. But then someone else next to you is having a completely different experience, and it just takes humility to see this. And then the chances are you just fall out of it, and then you see everything differently. And it is, yeah, and it happens. I feel that change just happens, like Dave was saying, it just happens when you're not looking. It happens, when you stop trying, when you stop searching, and then you realize that it's all that there is, and it's never left you, and you've kind of always known this, but we sort of, and it's knocking at your door all the time. There's glimpses. It's like when Dave was saying about the rainbow, so Dave told me about the rainbow, and I didn't really think about it much at the time. And then what I find is, when you start using your own metaphors or trying to explain this to someone else, that's often when it comes alive. And for me, it was like I had quite a stubborn daughter who didn't want to listen, so I had to always find different ways of showing her. And I remember as well with my son, he was stuck in this, he had some thinking around something happening to me, and he was going to someone's house, and he was really worried, and you immediately feel all your feelings. He started to cry, and I told him about the rainbow, and I said, right now you're just connecting with, I said, you're in whatever color for you is worry. Maybe you're in the blue, and you're experiencing those thoughts that you're bringing alive. And I said, it's completely fine. It's just what you're doing in this moment, and it doesn't matter. It's okay. This is, your it's just, your worry is just showing you what's going on in your head, and it's fine. There's nothing to do and change. You're fine. And I remember we arrived at this person's house, and the mother was there, and she looked at him and could see he was worried, and she was like, oh my God, what's the matter? We need to change it. And he was looking at me going, well, you just told me I'm fine. She's telling me I'm not fine. And I was like, just, you're fine. And he went off, and then he texted me later, and he just said, Mom, I'm in the, now I'm in the orange, which for him was, I can see. It was the simplicity around it. He just said, I've shifted. I'm in the orange now. And it was like connecting with that unbroken spirit, which I love. And so the final thing I was going to say is, when I went to, to stay with Dave and Jen, and he talked about the rainbow, I went to Wales, and I kind of, because now I look and I see magic everywhere, and I see miracles everywhere. And I kind of said out loud, it's like, can I just have a rainbow? Can I see a rainbow? And I just was, I was just playing around, and I was having this walk, and I just saw I didn't notice it was raining, but there was this most vivid rainbow I've ever seen in my life. And it was only because I noticed it. And there's been a few times since then that I've been really stuck in my head, really stuck in resisting something, really stuck in, creating, resisting what is, just doing a whole load of whatever you do as when you get stuck in the story. And it's just occurred to me to look up, and I look up, and there's this rainbow, and I'm just like, immediately I'm out of my head. It's like magic. It's like immediately I'm in the moment, and in that moment everything is as it should be, and everything is okay, and it's I haven't done anything, I haven't processed anything, I haven't tried to, positive think and whatever it is. It's just, I've connected back with this truth, the unbroken spirit, the rainbow. And none of that probably really came alive when Dave was saying it, but it came alive within me when I started to reflect on it. And so, yeah, I haven't been here on the 3 days, but I would just imagine there's been so much that's probably been, I don't know, that Dave's been talking about, and Jen, and it's like, it's afterwards, I think, that you just go and you allow yourself to just reflect on it, and just, yeah, that's when, for me, that's when this sort of all came alive and everything changes. And it's kind of magical, and I'm going to go.
I think we'll end on that, because that was beautiful, a nice way to finish. I just want to thank everybody for being part of this. Jerry, you're still #1 student, top pupil. Bless you, man. Thank you so much for showing up all the time, man. God bless you, man. Really do.
It's amazing. It's just amazing being here. Love it.
Seeing your face.
Thank you.
Good face. Excellent beard. I can't grow them like that. I can't grow one. I can't do it. Zoe, thank you so much, love. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you being here. I think you're frozen.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Thank you, love. It's been wonderful. We've really, really enjoyed it. You've frozen, Zoe, sadly.
Such a beautiful grand finale.
Oh, it was wonderful. It's been wonderful. Colin, Kath, thanks for everything you do. Those two look after Jen and I. They kind of go, here, you two. Do you know those 2 videos you've just put up, you bloody idiots? Yeah? Do you know you've put 2023 on them instead of 2024? No. All right, ta. They keep us on straight and narrow. They're so good. Thank you, you two. Cheryl, thank you, love, so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed your tea. She's gone. And Helen, well, we love you. Myra, thank you so much for coming with your inquisitive nature.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this. And thank you again, Jerry, for inviting me.
Don't lose that inquisitive nature, Myra.
Thank you.
No, really, it's thank you, Myra. Thank you so much for coming with your questions. Every single question you ask will be something that somebody else is thinking, I'm sure. So thank you for being brave enough to ask questions. And we really, really appreciate it. We really, really appreciate it. Again, we're not telling anybody how to think. We're just putting this out. People can take from it whatever they wish. It's up to them. All the power lies in the listener, as they say. So Myra, thank you so much for being here. Okay. We love you, Kate. Thank you for being here. Jen's putting Lucia to sleep, and I know she is, because I can still hear Lucia gibbering away like a little bloody canary. So
yeah, Dave, just a quick one, mate.
Yeah.
The clocks go forward next week.
Keep an eye on us, Cole.
Yeah, I will.
If anybody's interested as well, we run a community group on Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, community groups on Monday.
Well worth it.
Yeah. 7
o'clock.
Good night. Thank you.
God bless everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.